Alright, so in this video, it's particularly made for a student who is absent today on March the 24th. But what we are going to do, hopefully in class, is to go over the verbal forms that we have not yet, and all we have left is the infinitives and the participles. We've already gone over indicatives, and we've already gone over imperatives. So let's first review very quickly our infinitives. And I suppose just for funs and giggles, I'll embed 3 things at random, and we'll see how that works out. Maybe I'll make it into a quiz. So, here's our infinitives. Remember that there are 6 of them: present active, present passive, perfect passive, and future active and future passive. Now, infinitives not in indirect statement. Remember, when they are in indirect statement, they're going to have a subject, and so they wouldn't translate normally like we do an infinitive. Infinitives almost always in English translates to in some variety. Now, here you can see the present active infinitive that we should be most familiar with. Are, ere, and ire, 2 verb, 2 verb, 2 verb, 2 verb. And they are then going to convert into ari, ere, e, short ere turns into a long I, and then long ire turns into long iri. And again, not in a direct statement, so not in context. To love, to hear, to be loved, to be heard. Simple as that. Please note that to see, the passive expression of to see is very often to seem. To seem in English is the equivalency of to be seen. Perfect active. You take the perfect stem, you see the V suffix or the elongated stem or the elongated stem or the V suffix, and you add isse. Then for the perfect passive, it's a periphrastic. Perfect passive participle plus a form of the verb to be, but since we are wanting an infinitive, you use the infinitive of the verb to be, sum esse. To have verbed. So, to have seen, to have sent, to have been seen or to have seemed, and to have been sent. As simple as that. And then down here, outside of indirect statements, you really do not translate them ever as an infinitive. Instead, they will always be in indirect statement with an accusative subject. Will verb, would verb, with a subject. The accusative subject will verb, the accusative subject would verb, dependent upon the introductory verb. And the accusative subject will be verbed, or the accusative subject would be verbed, dependent upon the introductory verb. So, let's go ahead and see if we can have our first installment for a free 100 for watching. We'll go with misisse, M-I-S-I-S-S-E, misisse. That's your first one. Now, the other thing that we're going to be looking for are participles. And here we can see them. Now, just like infinitives, participles come in 3 different tenses of present, perfect, and future. And obviously, active and passive, but there are only 4 of them because the present passive participle does not exist. The perfect active participle does not exist. Now, when we're looking at participles, again, as is with everything, how will you know what kind of participle? How will you know how to translate it? The answer is because of the form. Present active participles are going to be a 3rd declension adjective of single termination. Remember, that is that the nominative, masculine, feminine, and neuter, that's actually 3 words, is going to be oprimanes with an ns, and then all the rest of the forms is going to have an nt as the last 2 letters of its stem, and 3rd declension endings. Variant is, ieme, oprimenti, oprimentem, oprimente, and so forth and so on. It's translated, whenever you see it, as verbing. Verbing. As simple as that. The perfect passive participle is the 4th principal part. If we were to go look at the principal parts of this verb, opprima, opprimere, oppressi, oppressus, oppressa, oppressum. Having been verbed. So, having been verbed. And the having been is optional. Because I can say, I see the ball having been thrown by the boy. But I can see the ball thrown by the boy. It's the equivalency. Future active will be merely the 4th principal part, the perfect passive participle, with a UR shoved in it. Oppressus, oppressurus. And here, of course, it would be about to verb. About to verb, or going to verb, or fixin' to verb. Any of those. And then over here, the future passive also goes by the term the gerundive. About to be verbed. About to be verbed. So, about to verb, about to crush, about to be crushed, having been crushed, and crushing. Your second embedded word, Opprimeins. O-P-P-R-I-M-E-N-S. Opprimeins is the second one that you want to have. So let's go ahead and see in that verbal section any of the forms that are either a participle or an infinitive. That's imperative. That one is the gerundive. You see the nd? So it is the future passive participle. That is an imperative, indicative, all kinds of stuff. So we're going to circle it because one of those three is the infinitive. That's indicative, indicative. There's a participle. I know because of the form. That's indicative, that's imperative, that's imperative. There is a infinitive. Indicative, indicative. There's a participle. You see the nt with the third declension ending? That is an infinitive. Oh Lord, it's a periphrastic, but the helping verb to be is an infinitive, so that's an infinitive. Here is another participle. That's indicative, subject I. That's indicative, subject I. That's indicative, subject y'all. That's indicative, subject you. That is a periphrastic, but indicative because of est. This is indicative, subject I, indicative, subject he, and there's my other infinitive. So these are the ones circled are infinitives and participles. So let's go through them. What is a capiendo? That is the future passive participle, also known as the gerundive detail because of the nd. So, about to be accepted. Now remember that when we add that with the nd plus a form of the verb to be, like what we see over here, it's then that it shows obligation. Must be accepted. But that would be when it has with it the s. So over here by itself, about to be accepted. Here's the infinitive form, not the other two, but one of the three, simply to accept. It's the present active infinitive, to verb. Here, you see the UR shoved into a capitus. That is the perfect passive participle. When you shove a UR in it, it becomes the future active, about to accept. About to accept. Over here, take that short ERE and just put an I, and that's exactly what you have. So it is the present passive infinitive. To be accepted. To be accepted. Here we have the present active participle. NT plus third declension ending. Accepting. Now it's either dative or ablative. So let's make it dative plural. I give, or no, let's say, okay. I give money to the boys, the ones accepting money from their neighbor. The accepting whatever. But it's just accepting. Perfect passive participle plus a form of the verb to be in the infinitive. This is a perfect passive infinitive. To have, perfect, been passive accepted. To have been accepted. Now, this is nothing more, a captorum, than that right there with a different ending than us. Us, e-o, o, e, orum. But every one of those forms still have the same translation, having been accepted. It's a perfect passive participle. It's just modifying something genitive. So make it genitive plural. Let's say, I see the dog of the boys, the ones having been accepted by the group of friends, having been verbed. And then finally the last one that's circled, ake, perfect stem with an isse. It's a perfect active. So up here 36, to have been accepted, or received, I suppose, to have been received. To have received. To have received. And we'll make that your third item. Your third item. A-K-P-I-S-S-E. So, hopefully you've watched this and benefited from it. It's not very long at all. Easy, 5 to 8 minutes. Free 100.